Congressman John Lewis is apparently not a massive fan of incoming President-elect Donald Trump. He spoke with Chuck Todd over the weekend and made that very clear, as you'll see in this clip.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You do not consider him a legitimate president. Why is that?
I think the Russians participated in helping this man get elected, and they helped destroy the candidacy of Hillary Clinton. I don't plan to attend the inauguration. It will be the first one that I miss since I've been in the Congress.
We're gonna have a little bit more video from earlier today, but yeah, I mean, saying that he's not a legitimate president is about as strong a statement as a elected official can make about an incoming president.
So I'm conflicted on this. I think I have a relatively unique opinion, if you can be relatively unique. So first off, isn't it amazing that how history has flipped on its head? So John Lewis, a civil rights icon, he literally had his skull cracked in Selma, Alabama, and that was not the only thing that he participated in. He took the lectern at the "I Have a Dream" speech. It's the same day that Martin Luther King did. So they do the March on Washington, and among those speakers was John Lewis. He was considered among the Big Six, and he's the only one that remains alive of the Big Six that organized all the civil rights era marches, protests, and then eventually won and got us the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, which now the Republicans 50 years later are in the middle of destroying. And so you can understand why he's a little bit aggrieved that 50 years later we are now regressing. So the part I like of what he's doing is he's organizing resistance, just like he did 50 years ago. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say we live in a topsy-turvy world is back then, the right wing used to accuse the NAACP and other African-American organizers like Martin Luther King of being in bed with the Russians. And they were called communist, un-American, by the way, by people like Jeff Sessions, who now is set to be the Attorney General. So the world has completely turned on its head. Now John Lewis is saying Jeff Sessions and those guys, mainly obviously Donald Trump and his administration, are in league with the Russians and hence illegitimate. So the part I don't agree with is, I think that saying he's illegitimate doesn't really quite mean anything. And so that's not how I would frame it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that John Lewis will be like, I'll take that under advisement, Mr. Talk Show host.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hear you on that, okay? But to me, now the Russian thing is just, we've now gotten to a point where it is way overhyped. So both sides drive me crazy, the people who say, and including some in our network who say, no, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, right? There appears to be significant evidence that the Russians quote unquote interfered, right? But what does interfering mean? They didn't hack the vote. They did propaganda. We've done propaganda in hundreds of elections. The U.S. has in other foreign countries and probably in Russia too, right? So yes, the Russians did propaganda. Welcome to the big bad world.
Just to be clear, propaganda that they got through committing cyber crimes. Like you could do propaganda by having a radio show or something.
Yeah.
That doesn't involve actual rule breaking.
I'm sure our CIA blushes at the thought of us doing cyber crimes.
Yeah.
Oh, us doing hacking. Oh, heaven forfend. We would never do that.
That's totally true, but we have bought the ability to criticize the other side for doing it because we also attack the CIA. So we're not being hypocrites. In fact, if you only care about when our CIA does it and not Russia, that is hypocrisy.
I understand all that, John, but the election is not illegitimate because the Russians did cyber crimes and did propaganda.
Yeah, totally.
And so Democrats, you got to get beyond it. And I think now...
Define getting beyond it.
Okay, I will define it. One is you attend the inauguration, okay? Now, I can't stand Donald Trump, and I will fight him, I would argue, just as aggressively, if not more aggressively, than literally anyone in the country for the next 4 years, okay? But that doesn't mean that you don't go to inauguration. It's just pomp and circumstance anyway. It's silliness.
Are you going?
So I have no role in inauguration.
All talk.
Right, but we are doing an all-day show about it,
That's
right?
true.
And so if they try to delegitimize Obama in this way, and they did, we yelled at them, right? But even their congressmen were a little hesitant to go on the record to do it. Now here, John Lewis is going on the record and saying he's not a legitimate president. First of all, I don't really care who thinks he's legitimate or not, because he's the president. So I hate that, but it is, and he is. That's the reality. So you can play word games all you like, but it ain't going to change it. And then secondly, on the Russian thing, John, okay, they did something during the elections.
Hey, you're
they
not
didn't rig the
persuading me.
vote.
I just asked you to find it for the audience.
They didn't rig the vote. We're done with it. Okay, you want to do sanctions? I'm on your side. Now Trump's going to do the opposite. He's going to lift sanctions, and so that's deplorable, and I understand that, right? But if you keep saying like, "Oh no, we would have won," it seems like you're crying over spilled milk.
Yeah, I just don't.
So get on with your life. Get on with your life.
Cenk, I agree, and I can identify a couple of people who are doing that. So in his argument, he is saying Russia was involved in the election and thus Hillary lost. And you can point to a couple of other people. I'm sure that David Brock probably feels much the same way, Neera Tanden. There are several people who are very closely tied to Hillary Clinton who are literally trying to use it as an excuse for the faults of Hillary Clinton and a million other things that contributed to the election loss. But I'm not responsible for what Neera Tanden does or John Podesta. So I'm allowed to be concerned about if there was any actor, state or otherwise, who was getting involved in our election and hacking into political institutions, because I don't think it forgives the faults of Hillary Clinton. I still want our elections to be secure. I want our institutions to be secure.
Yeah, of course!
Yeah, I know, but when you say everybody needs to get over it without making those fine-grained distinctions, then everybody gets smeared by the couple of political insiders who are using it as an excuse.
No, but it's not. No, John, that's exactly, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because that's exactly what I'm getting at here. I don't think the Democrats think it's a couple of political insiders and it's John Lewis here and Neera Tanden there. No, I think that the heart of the Democratic establishment believes, oh, we would have won, this is so unfair. Oh my God, we got robbed, and it was the Russians. No, I don't count this one. You can cry all day long, and a lot of people did. It doesn't change the results. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a couple of guys in the Democratic Party. I think it is the majority of the Democratic establishment who thinks it's illegitimate. No, I'm not recognizing it. It doesn't matter if you don't recognize it. It exists whether you recognize it or not.
Yeah, again, that might be, but simply because I hold a similar position to a group that I generally disagree with doesn't mean that I'm going to back off of that position. Bernie Sanders says that he's convinced and it was horrible that it happened, and he's not doing that to protect the DNC. Elizabeth Warren says it was clearly them, and she's not talking about it to protect the DNC.
But again, Bernie's saying, let's get on with it and fight him on his policies.
I understand that.
So I guess my position is not unique. It is almost identical to Bernie's position.
Yeah, but the distinction would be, I think, that if Bernie Sanders has an opportunity to stop it from happening via legislation or something like that, he's probably not going to say, let's not worry about it, because if we do something to stop it in the future, it's going to look like spilled milk over the election. You can have whatever explanation for why you think the election went the way it did. We do need to make sure that our elections are secure.
Again, John. Of course, we did a whole.
I know, but it
sounds
like
no,
you're
it doesn't
arguing
sound
against
like
that.
it.
No,
it doesn't
what I just
sound
heard
like
sounded like
no,
it.
okay, then let's be super clear because it's not just us arguing over it. It's the whole country is divided on this because they just go into fucking political camps, okay? So the Republicans are like, I don't see any Russian interference. I don't see it. All that evidence. CIA, who I trusted and loved when they decided we had evidence on Iraq, I hate them now. I don't trust them at all. The Russians, who I said I hated my whole life, I love them. I love them. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. So all of you guys who are fucking maniacal like that, you're wrong, okay? You're wrong. So now, all of you get pissed at me. Now, the progressives who say, I don't see any evidence. I don't see any evidence, right? So including, like I said, a host here that I love, reporters that I love, okay? Of course there's evidence. They didn't make it up. It's all over the CIA, the FBI. Why would James Comey make up evidence that the Russians interfered when he helped Trump get elected? Why would he do that?
Even Donald Trump admitted that he thinks it was Russia.
Even Donald Trump
admitted
that it happened. So for
doesn't make any sense.
For progressives who say there's no evidence and it's all made up out of whole cloth, go ahead and hate me because I don't agree with you, okay? So that's fine, okay? And then now for the Democrats, so I'm going to get everybody to hate me here because you're all goddamn wrong and wake out of your incredible partisan blinders, including John Lewis, okay, who I love and respect and cherish as a civil rights icon. No, this election doesn't count. It doesn't count. What the fuck does that mean? No, the Russians interfered. We're not kids. You can't take your ball and go home. And that's what they're doing when they don't go to inauguration. I'm taking my ball and going home. I didn't like the way this election happened. The Russians did it. Yeah, but they didn't hack the vote. They did propaganda. Your job was to get beyond that. Your job was to get beyond that. Elections are not patty cakes. If you think they're patty cakes, you're going to lose all of them. You're not going to be prepared, and then you're going to make sad excuses afterwards. So you're all wrong as well. Go ahead and hate me, okay? But I'm trying to give you the reality of the situation. Now, John, of course we have to verify the vote. We did a whole petition on the Young Turks to verify the vote.
I'm not even
if
talking
they
about the vote.
touch the vote, let's go invade them, okay? Are you happy enough, everybody, okay?
I don't recall asking for an international war.
I'll go further, okay? And for God's sake, verify the goddamn vote. I mean, I think the Russians didn't do anything. I mean, we had a report a week before the election saying, watch out, the Russians might be hacking into the actual vote. But no, will the secretaries of state in all the states let us verify? Nope. My cousin's handling it. So trust the American democracy to my goddamn cousin and private contractors. No, verify the vote. But until then, my main point at this point in this story is Democrats, moveon.org, continuing to cry about Russia, ain't going to get anything done. You want to verify the vote? I'm 1,000% behind you. Anything beyond that, and you're looking childish. You can help build independent media. We're now doing fundraising to get 4 new investigative reporting teams out there and be the watchers on the wall. We're not going to let Trump get away with anything. We're not going to let the establishment get away with anything. You help us build it. tytnetwork.com/go. Be part of the solution.